Hey, good morning. That last video sort of got cut short. I don't have a studio. I don't have a big expensive mic. I live out of a backpack. I move through the cosmos pretty fast, so I use whatever I have available at me to communicate with everybody. Okay? Actually, the entire cosmos. So I wanted to cover what I consider to be unpack some information that if it has value to you, then that's great, because that's what we do. Okay, that's why I use my childhood a lot, because it was in my childhood that I realized that I went from a whole lot of life that of everything that I'm aware of to like a pinhead, which means I'm experiencing something that is lower in speed form, okay, of what it is that I'm experiencing. So I was able to, if you will, calculate how timelines work, which is called timeline vectoring. When you have an enormous amount of light that you use because you have so much love to give, because you're naturally giving away energy without even thinking about it, okay, it means that you are constantly aware of what you are, which is what love is, and living spirit. But you're experiencing the communication of others who are communicating to you the waveform that they use to experience who they are with you, okay? So you're sorting. So as a child, I began what I call value tagging. Value tagging waveform communication across past, present, future moments. Okay? So what we realize here is we got, 7.5 billion batteries or 7.5 billion beings who are all here experiencing what it's like to be in a biosphere, right? Okay. So when I was a child, I was able to, if you will, calculate the amount of light that is being experienced by every unit of self-awareness or every unit of consciousness that is here, to sort of measure what you would call the loss of light, okay, the gain of light, the loss of light, the gain of light, sort of like a yo-yo, which means the waves are going up and down. So you're measuring the waves, the input and the output of the energy that is going in, and thus we're experiencing the output together. So we represent the sum of all of our parts, which essentially is the evolution of who we all are together, of the energy that we're using to experience each other together. Okay, so imagine that there wasn't anywhere that you ever went, no matter where you go on the planet, that you're experiencing nothing less at a minimum, say 500 or 600 megahertz. Well, imagine that you're experiencing 800 million hertz per second, no matter where you go, everywhere you go. All your cells are happy and joyful, just like you are. But this is just nothing more than a communication platform that we use in living spirit to communicate who we are. You know, the evolution of our experiences, which represent everything that we have experienced that we assign value to. And we delete those things that don't have value to us because we have a measurement that is based on who we are already in vibration communication. We don't want to experience anything less than we already are, right? So we either, in the way that a program works, if you will, like for me as a child, I realized that I had to keep some things in memory or I can't operate in this program. Okay, which means everything is data driven. And because data is data processing, and we store that in memory, that becomes the program that we're running. But I realized I'm not what this program is. Because the program that I jumped into, which is what everybody's experiencing here, is represented by going in reverse. Okay, rather than going faster in forward time, when all you really have is right now, okay, which is what love is in living spirit. So I'm going to try and get through what I made an awful lot of notes to myself this morning, okay, how anybody chooses to use the information that represents what I've experienced, because that's what it is. You experience energy in a time-driven clock here because you have memory. And so that memory becomes what we record and thus becomes what we remember. If you are operating on no memory, then the level of the speed in which you're experiencing who you are is what the images are that you're creating and manifesting as you're going through the universe. Okay, so you're essentially a creator being experiencing everything that you're imagining at the speed at which you're imagining it, and you're sharing it with everybody else. So when you're traveling at the same speed, which is the highest speed that you can attain, in which you're constantly manifesting and creating what it is that you're experiencing at the same time and sharing it with everybody else, then you are like drilling a motor, spinning at an extreme rate of speed, just like water down a toilet, just like spinning a top. So how fast you want to go? I want to go as fast as you can go, right? So if I realize you can go faster, I want to learn from somebody how to go faster. So how do you learn how to do that? Through a god and a goddess. A powerful spirit that's running an enormous amount of fire that is in them that lights up the hottest bulb. So it's like, as I realized with myself as a child, I'm in a track meet against myself. Okay? So I want to keep going faster and faster and faster because I realized when I was here as a child, hey man, I'm only going to be here for like a very, very short period of time. In fact, it's like a flash. So I thought of myself as like a single particle of sand in which all that data is in that little tiny particle of salt, okay, that carries the electron. I have just a very, very, very short period of time. I got to cram into that window, but it's not a window, it's a circle of light in which that spirit is, me, experiencing as much as I can experience while I'm here, and then we're gone. Wow, they blew through here in a flash. That's why I used to wear a flash hat. Patty asked me once time, what are you wearing that flash hat for? That's a lightning bulb. How much fire you got in you? Well, how hot do you want the bulb to be? Right? So the hotter the bulb, the better you are at burning off anything that is lower than that heat. But you got to cool that processor down, brothers and sisters. That's why the sky is blue. So anyway, I wanted to cover some stuff this morning that what I call explaining redundant memory-driven experiences. So I thought to myself, we love to label everything, and the reason that we label everything is in order to store it in a place that we can retrieve it. Okay, so that's memory-driven programming, okay, which means we're experiencing in an operating system, which is a communication platform, in which we communicate what it is that we're experiencing. Okay, so we're all experiencing who we all are differently because my experiences are certainly not the same as everybody else's. Neither are yours with mine, and that includes everybody that's here, right? So that's logic. That's common sense. So I thought to myself, so we store the data because it has value, okay? So these are data-driven experiences, okay, that are value-driven experiences, okay? So as you're using biotechnology as a stereo communication platform, because that's what it is. So I knew, for example, when I was young, that this particular avatar that I'm in, because I'm analog, was given to me by a girl. Has to be. Because who else do you know has more love in their heart than what a mother gives to her newborn? So you know that a goddess is going to be giving you a first-rate piece of equipment to communicate with everybody here. Okay? So for me, that was logic. That's just common sense because I knew as a child, you want to live through your heart because that's your protection. They know how to hack this. Okay? When you get into, and at some time I guess I suppose I could do this, all their technology. And then you can get into the question, and this is later on in all the notes that I made here, why they use technology. Okay? Technology is a tool. It's a tool that we use in time, okay, versus manifestation. So I'll explain sort of how this works in the way I explain it to others, because I had a fascinating 3 or 4 hour conversation with Patty Broussard, who's a Gaia shaman, Micmac tribe, Commander Earth Defense Force, the holder of the Ring of Midas. Okay? And so she was explaining to me one day, for example, when we talked about the pole reversals, in building these dome structures in Utah on an Indian reservation that would essentially be able to endure, the increase in the winds. It's basically a crustal displacement. And so you're going to need to have a structure to maintain what it is you need in order to be able to survive, which is to maintain the avatar, okay? The amount of energy that's going to be experienced and thus released. So that means you need something that can withstand the rigors of those elements. Okay? So she explained to me how in her mind she already had the structures that she had put together in her mind, which is what a concept is. So that concept is made up of an enormous amount of data. Okay? So when we asked her, I believe it was Dean. I think Dean asked her about, why don't we just manifest it? I think it was Dean that asked her, because we were on like a conference call on Skype. And Patty said, sure, I could manifest it, but we wanted to use the labor force of the Indians of the Ute Reservation as the workers so that they could learn by doing. When you learn by doing, which is vocational education, that was my undergraduate degree because I love to work with my hands and I love to build things. Okay? That's not manifestation. I call that reverse engineering. The concept is already in your mind, so it's already put together. So you can just manifest it. So this is where we go back to using the pencil and the sharp point of a pencil on a piece of paper, and then you can draw a galaxy spinning. So you start from a single geometric point from which you decide to create something or be aware of what is in your mind, how that works, right? So it's already together. So you already know everything that's held within the light, which represents what it is you're aware of. You now transpose what is in your mind already put together down onto a piece of paper. That's what a draftsman does. That's what an architect does. Whether you use it the old way, which is like using a pencil, a protractor, a compass, and a drafting board, and then a large sheet of paper, and then you begin putting what's in your mind as a concept, like an engineer who works for an automotive company or an aeronautical engineer like my father. You want to come up with a spaceship, an aircraft, a helicopter, whatever you're going to build, or whatever is the concept that is in your head. You're simply taking the information of all the data that is represented by what you know how to put that together. So what you do is you come up with a bill of materials, which means this is what we need to do in order to build it, which means I have to extract iron, which means because I got to refine that through a process in which I make steel. Well, what kind of metal do you want to make it out of? Are you going to make it out of titanium? Well, that depends on what you're going to use it for. If it's got to withstand the rigors of enormous heat and enormous cold, then it has to be able to withstand that and still perform what? A function. So what is the function? Everything that we do has to start with a function. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Right? Which is logic. There has to be some logical reason why we use the energy that we do to experience who we are and share that with others. So that's pretty simple. So in this case, she was explaining to me how all this information, all the data that makes up the concept, it's already in her head and she can manifest it. Well, why don't we just manifest it? Save the time and the energy. So if we're going to reverse engineer this thing and then build it, we're doing it in a time clock. Because if it's already in your head, how fast was it there? How fast was all that data already put together to form the concept that is in your head? Now we're going to do it in slow motion. Okay, we're going to slow the speed down in which it was manifested in our mind. We can manifest it into reality, okay, which means now you're experiencing the projection. Now it's part of the fabric, part of the hologram. It's in the mirror, the bidirectional mirror. So instead of just doing it that way, we're going to build it using time and energy. So we need to extract and get the resources and acquire all the materials. We got a list of all the materials. Now we're going to use a labor force and tools to build it. Now they get to experience in their mind all of the data-driven components that make up the final product. So we're extracting from the girl and the planet essentially data that's being held within that light in order to make the dome structure that could withstand a pole shift. Okay? So one was for the purpose of learning in her mind, which means we're going to build it part by part by part so they can see how all the parts in the concept fit together. And the way that she had put this together was just brilliant because it basically was self-managing itself. And I thought, what a genius. So it was cool. So this is where you get into the difference between using time to reverse engineer something you already got in your mind that you can manifest. Okay? So I wanted to leave you with that to sort of understand how it is beings like us experience who we are. That becomes what I call a frame of reference. Because everything is a frame of reference because you're experiencing how you experience the universe, or I experience the universe, or anything experiences the universe. Go talk to a bird. Ask a bird how they experience being a bird? How about a tree? You know what I'm saying? So you have everything that is out in the universe that is experiencing who they are with everything else that is what they are. So we're experiencing the sum of our parts. So what is the evolution of the sum of our parts? To go higher, to go faster. So we're experiencing more of what we are because we're getting back more energy of what we are. And when we're able to do that, man, we're outside the time clock. Bye. So when you're living through your heart, that's easy to do, but it's not easy because so many people on this planet suffer trauma. And I know what trauma does because I've experienced it, a lot of it. But the key is you got to bounce back. You got to release what it is that you experienced as a result of lower states of consciousness that live in heavier density, which is a lot of baggage. Ugh, that's heavy. That's why your state of consciousness is lower. Bust through it. Man, you want to experience so much more light. Now you're aware of a larger telescope of so much that is out there for us to experience. That's your imagination. It's like expand the scope of your awareness, which means speed up the waves. And when you speed up the waves, then the lower waves that represent the lower states of consciousness, which means you're experiencing less data, which means you're experiencing less of what the universe is rather than more of what the universe is. So when you want to go off and experience everything there is out there to experience, you want the wave of the speed, which is the oscillating cycle of the avatar that you're experiencing, which represents what you are in living spirit. Man. Now you're going to track me with the rest of the universe. Man, I'm going fast. And when you realize that you have all that energy feels good. And you realize you have everything that you need. You can sit out on a beach. You can be anywhere you want to be. And you're experiencing the energy that you are that feels so good. You're a power station. You're your own self-sustaining power station. Those are the energy service providers in the cosmos. That's what she is in this planet. The energy that we breathe in and out all the time is hers. So that's how when you set up a classroom, somebody's got to provide a classroom in order for us to learn from. So when we're in alignment with the girl on the planet, okay, which means all I have to do is look around me, like when I was a child in a high chair, and out in the backyard, living in Northridge, California in the early 1950s, we had like 5 orange trees. So I'm realizing, wow, those are free oranges. She's given us free oranges. There isn't any charge to that, any more than there's a charge when I used to go walk a half a mile in the morning before school when I was in junior high school with a surfboard, because I wanted to go out because I love to be in the ocean because it's salt water, and get a charge up and go be with her, go be with the waves, ride the waves, ride the waves, ride the waves. Oh man, is this cool stuff. Now you're charged up. Now you're ready to go jump into a classroom and experience everybody in the school. So, I felt these were important things to impart to everybody, because when others can see how it is that we experience who we are, and you want to learn from that, then it means that you're attracted to our magnet. Okay, so I knew as a child, particularly when I was a teenager during the 60s, you got to be careful about how much light you're pushing out there as a magnetic light amplifier, because they'll know who you are. That's why one of the things I realized as a child going through all of their testing procedures, for example, they track everything that comes in here and is here. Okay, so they're always looking for empaths. They're looking for gifted students that are extremely smart, because you become a useful resource. They're exploiters. They're pirates. Okay? These are not beings who experience what love is in living spirit. They don't generate from source